Welcome back. Welcome back. Your man Diamond K in here, of course, the Diamond K Show on ONFIRE-TV.com. I hope everybody had a good Easter. I guess that's the how you would describe it, right? You want people to have a good Easter. Coming out of the weekend, of course, we are still here in Baltimore. We are still very ripe with the tragedy that occurred last week, talking about the collapse of the Key Bridge. And now an alternate channel has been established for commercial vessels. Of course, this is after the horrific, tragic crash. So folks got to understand that this is not a small bridge. For people that are not here, people that are here in Baltimore, they know. But outside of the city, if you have not seen, I guess the news reports and things that you see online do not even do justice. I drove as close as I could get, which is still on 695, was as close as I could get to it. But I drove by there over the weekend just so I could try to get a visual to see it myself. And of course, they're talking about they don't want you to fly drones or anything like that over there. So I wasn't able to fly my drone there, but I was able to see the wreckage and see the bridge sticking out of the water, the images that you have seen. Able to see that live, and that was interesting. After this collapse, so the Coast Guard has established what they're calling a temporary alternate channel. Now, this is for commercially essential vehicles. Now, they're going to be near the fallen bridge. Now, part of this phased approach to opening the main channel, which is leading to the vital port. But you got folks that were stranded. You have business that needs to try to happen. So they're trying to get to that as quickly as possible. There was a press conference today where Governor Wes Moore and some other officials spoke, including Kwesi Mfume, including the mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott. You can tell how good a leader is by many metrics. One of those metrics is how that leader handles times of crisis, times of tragedy. And we already knew that Wes Moore was charismatic. We already knew that Wes Moore was a great speaker. We already knew that Wes Moore had an amazing story. I think that he has done well thus far communicating with the public about this accident that has happened in Baltimore. Now, along with Brandon Scott, who's also been in the national scene because of this, I think that both guys have done a great job thus far in this, as good as you can do. Now, crews have begun this complicated work of removing steel and concrete at the site of the tragedy. So the bridge, which is, in the Patapsco River, is the most important part about doing this is, of course, people want it done quickly. But as the governor said several times, it has to be done safely. So they're removing steel and debris. The water is murky. They can't see. The divers can't see but a few feet in front of them in the water. It is very dangerous even doing this. And a lot of folks don't consider that there is significant risk every time these workers get into the water. It's risk every time. The weather wasn't the best today. It's not going to be the best tomorrow. But on Sunday, yesterday, dive teams surveyed part of the bridge and checked the ship. And workers in lifts use torches to cut above water parts. And you got the twisted steel superstructure. You have a lot going on. And what we can see above the water line, below the water line, is even more dangerous. It is mangled. It is wrapped up. So they're trying to separate that stuff, and this is going to take some time. This is definitely going to take some time. The captain of the port is preparing to establish the temporary channel on the northeast side of the main channel. Now, that has been completed, and it's going to have what they call the depth of 11 feet. Now, that is a horizontal clearance of 264 feet and a vertical clearance of 96 feet. So not what they're used to, but it's going to have to do. And that was as of yesterday, and as of today, this afternoon, that has been open. So this is the first step along a long road to fully reopening the port of Baltimore. So you have a lot of commerce that comes in through the port of Baltimore. You have cruises that come in through the port of Baltimore, and there was a Carnival cruise that had to dock at Norfolk, and then they bust folks up. A lot of rerouting, not only the ships being rerouted, but actually people being rerouted because they cannot dock a large boat like that there. So they've opened this alternate route, which will support the flow of marine traffic into Baltimore. So today, the Small Business Administration opened a center in Dundalk to help small businesses get loans to help them with the losses. And there are major losses and disruptions, obviously, that have been caused by this bridge collapse. Definitely, it was mentioned during the press conference today about the families, and just, our hearts go out to these families that are dealing with the tragedy that has happened. They've been impacted in a way. There's been so much talk about commerce and cruises and all that kind of stuff, but you have families and friends and loved ones that have lost major parts of their family's unit and friends and all of that. And so I don't want to ever get away from or forget the loss of life. We still have folks that have not been recovered. So that is still something that is an ongoing effort. This bridge fell as the crew of the cargo ship lost power and control of the ship on March the 26th. And here we are, April 1st, and we still have bodies that have not been recovered. They called Mayday, which allowed just enough time for the police to stop vehicles from getting on the bridge. But it was not enough time to get the crew of 8 workers off the structure. So we can't forget that. We could talk about, opening the channels temporarily, and we could talk about rebuilding the bridge, which the governor said is going to happen. They're going to rebuild the bridge. But we cannot forget that folks lost their lives. This is a major impact to the skyline of Baltimore, and but it is so much more than that. So, of course, just tuning in, you may Diamond K in here. Of course, the Diamond K Show. We're talking about the Key Bridge collapse, and President Biden is going to visit Baltimore following this collapse, and that's going to take place on Friday. So Friday of this week, traffic in downtown Baltimore is going to be crazy. Is going to be crazy. Now, normally traffic is hectic. Now Friday's not so bad, but president coming to town, and this is a scheduled visit, so you got time to get it together. But the president plans to meet with state and local officials to get an on the ground look at federal response efforts. Details on the exact time are not available yet, but it ain't gonna be late at night. It's gonna be during the day, obviously. So be prepared for that. Anytime the president comes to town, you already know what it's going to be. Today, Coast Guard established that alternate route. We talked about that. And commercially essential vessels. This is not for everybody. And it is not the largest area, but it is good enough. And this is right near the fallen bridge. So you have this bridge, and part of this phased approach to opening the main channel, part of this is allowing some vessels, commercially essential vessels, to enter. But they've got to do this hard task of separating the bridge from the ship. And, they've talked about these chemicals a little bit that were on the ship, and some of the chemicals that fell into the Patapsco River. That part concerns me. There's not a lot of talk about that, but that part really concerns me. What has been dumped into this river, what is on this ship, we don't fully know, and I doubt that they're going to give us all that information because it's a lot. I don't know if everybody is ready. They said you can't handle the truth. Not sure if we can handle all of that truth, but the president is scheduled to visit Baltimore. And Baltimore has opened an alternate shipping route near the collapsed bridge. So this is what we know right now. Around the city, artists are going to build memorials for key bridge collapse victims. There have been fundraisers. There have been a lot of things for these poor folks, and I hope that they continue. I saw an interview with a gentleman who says that he was one of the last drivers across the Francis Scott Key Bridge before it collapsed. Like he missed it by a very short amount of time. He actually was from Pasadena and said that the bridge had been part of his daily commute for decades. Now, the morning of the collapse, the guy said that he left his job at a grocery store in Pasadena just after 1 a.m. and it was on his way to his second job, which is in Dundalk. And just before 1:30 a.m., he recalled approaching and driving over the bridge, as well as seeing the construction workers repairing the road. And I'm sure that memory is now embedded in his mind. But he's very lucky. The normal hustle and bustle surrounding the Amazon facility was non-existent, he said. He said that he did not hear the bridge collapse and it did not notice the cargo ship, but in hindsight, he recalled an eerie stillness and silence once he crossed the bridge. I drive in that area frequently. Just seeing what has happened, it is just amazing. If you've watched that video, I watched the video for the first time actually in the gym. So I was on the elliptical, and so they have I go to Planet Fitness, so they have Planet Fitness that's on the TV screen, and and I saw the ship hit the support beam, and then the bridge just fell, and it is just every time I see it, it is just a terrible thing. This gentleman, DeSantis is his last name. He actually escaped death by seconds getting over that bridge, by seconds. Um, I just cannot imagine how lucky he feels. It is a very interesting thing. Of course, we're talking about the Key Bridge, the collapse of the Key Bridge, and efforts are underway. The very long and drawn out plans to rebuild the bridge have begun. And I'm sure that they're going to build it with more modern technology in mind, with some defensive structures around um, the support beams of the bridge, just so a boat cannot just easily just bump it like that, and just drop the whole bridge a mile and some. Uh, just a bridge to just be held by the support of there was so much weight on that one part that the ship impacted. So you want to have that weight spread, and you want people to feel that this bridge is safe, right? And so many folks uncomfortable with going over bridges anyway. And when you have bridges falling into the river, it definitely does not make folks feel comfortable. Folks are already nervous about a bridge anyway. It's the Diamond K Show, of course, on fire-tv.com, radio on fire. You can send your comments to djdiamondk at gmail.com. Connect with me on social media at the Diamond K Show. Advertisers on fire-tv.com/advertise. So we're talking about Mayor Brandon Scott, that is Baltimore's mayor. The 2025 budget, he says, is balanced, and he did that without raising taxes or cutting services. Well, this is an election year, and I want to hear more. So he released details of his $3.4 billion 2025 operating budget today, and said that he has closed a $61.9 million budget gap. And he did that without cutting any services, without raising taxes. This is a good thing if this is actually true. The mayor has cited some strategic moves and good economic timing for a balanced budget proposal. So this mayor, I was initially skeptical of. So this is talking about before he got elected. So 4 years ago, I talked about how skeptical I was of him. And during the campaign, during the 2020 campaign, I ran into him at Edmondson when I was voting. And, I didn't try to avoid him, but, I wasn't thinking he wanted to talk to me. I had been very vocal about my criticism of him. And through the course, he was obviously trying to get votes, and he was campaigning. And as the line moved, I saw where he was standing. I'm like, we're getting a little bit closer, getting a little bit closer. Before you knew it, we're standing right beside each other. And I spoke. He spoke. He looked, kind of like, I don't know, apprehensive. But we talked, and we talked for a good 20 minutes. And I liked what he said. I hadn't heard him outside of some interview spots, but we talked, and I was intrigued, and I asked him, would he come on my show? He agreed, and he obviously went on to become elected. But I left the show. I left Edmondson. Voting. I left that day with a different impression of him after I talked to him personally. And since then, he has, been on the show a few times. And, folks say what they want to say, right? He's too young. He's this, he's that. But the job of mayor in Baltimore my opinion, one of the toughest jobs in this city is to be the mayor. It is a thankless job. It is a thankless job. And so I commend him. One, I commend him for wanting the job of mayor. I wouldn't want to be mayor, not of Baltimore. I wouldn't. But he wants the job. He wanted the job, and he wants to continue to have the job. And so folks have a decision to make. Do you want to start over with a new mayor, or do you want to pick up a mayor that's been here before, like Sheila Dixon? Do you want to have someone who really, really wants the job and has been running for different elected offices like Thuroo Vignarajah? Do you want somebody like that? Or do you want to give Mayor Brandon Scott 4 more years to continue what he's been doing? These are the decisions that folks have to make. And, you're going to have, a couple of chances to get that right. Obviously, May and in November. So the mayor says that the next fiscal year's budget is smaller than this year's spending plan by 3.4%. The mayor said that he has instructed agencies to find 5% savings. This is obviously something that he is going to bring up during his campaign. This is significant. And as part of the plan, 89 vacant city positions have been frozen. Education funding is not as high as expected. Property tax assessments have increased by 6.7%. Income tax receipts are up by 4.2%. Investment earnings increased by 59.8%. That is good. And there is a 21.3% jump in state highway user fees. Okay. So that's a nice way of saying it didn't raise taxes, but they were able to get more money from other places. And sometimes it was citizens and travelers. So the mayor said that it's too early to tell what kind of impact last week's collapse of the Key Bridge could have on the city's budget, but it is going to be affected. It's definitely going to be affected. The administration took 55 vacant positions at the Baltimore Police Department off the books. There is no reduction in the force, and the civilians will fill in when necessary with the help of a state grant. So he is doing a lot of things that are out the box. He's younger than a lot of the politicians that we see. And so he's going to be more willing to take some of these chances. This is the difference between having, a younger mayor versus having an older politician. Some of the way that they're looking at things, the type of programs that they will try to fund, the type of risks that they're going to take, and everything is a risk. So in addition to that, several other city departments have lost positions. They include the Department of Public Works and Recreation and Parks. They lost 8. The Enoch Pratt Free Library lost 7. Baltimore Housing lost 5. The Department of Transportation lost 3. The Department of Human Resources lost 1. Baltimore City Office of Equity and Civil Rights lost 2. So the mayor and city officials said the balanced budget proposal comes in part through savings and higher than anticipated property tax revenues, singling out South Baltimore as an area of growth. So this is good, I suppose. If you take it as what is being said, the mayor is also relying on future revenue generating proposals. So he's going to be laying this out big. I balanced the budget. What I'm doing is working. Give me 4 more years to continue this. That is what Mayor Brandon Scott is going to lay out as the main part of his platform. The public will have some say in the budget. The city council has the authority to make changes, The lawmakers have until June 26th this year to adopt the plan. Just a couple more things. After the city made a $650,000 investment in license plate readers, the mayor plans to establish a pilot initiative to enforce this residential permit parking using the license plate readers. So that is something, which means that's something that they're going to try to do to get more money. The parking penalties that were waived during the COVID-19 will return. They're going to get more money there. And the mayor plans to introduce new parking tax legislation to close loopholes used by online brokers and apps. The mayor will seek an overall increase in parking fines and fees through the city's Board of Estimates. So he says he's not raising taxes, but there are other ways to get money. And what folks have to understand, when you are the mayor of a city or a town, you are in management. You're running a business. You're running the business of the city. And in addition to making money for the city, they try to do some things to help the people. But ultimately, they are trying to raise and make money for the city, and if they can make the city better for its residents, then they'll try to do that. But as you can see, the things that he is talking about, it is management. It is managing the city and the city of Baltimore. For those, I mean, I hate to say it, but this is what it is. The city of Baltimore is a business. As you can see, he's talking about saving money, making more money, the same way a CEO talks. That is exactly how mayors talk. So, it is what it is. And we're going to continue to watch this and follow this election season. This is a big part of things. Brandon Scott laying out his strategy. He's going to say, I need more time to get it done. And it is up to you, the citizens of Baltimore, to either give him the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Last thing before we get out of here, Donald Trump has posted a $175 million bond to avert the asset seizure as he appeals the New York fraud penalty. Trump posted this. This is in his New York civil fraud case. It has stopped the collection of more than $454 million that he owed and prevented the state from seizing his assets to satisfy the debt while he appealed. So for those that didn't understand what was going on, we'll touch on that briefly. So the New York Appellate Court, that is where you make the appeals, it had given former President Trump 10 days to put up the money after a panel of judges agreed last month to slash the amount needed to stop the clock on enforcement. So sometimes you're going to hear folks that support ex-President Trump, and you're going to hear him say that there are two tiers of justice and he's getting treated unfairly and blah, 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 and a bunch of other lies, right? But many of you know folks who have been incarcerated and had a high bond that they had to pay. And if the bond was too high, they didn't have the money, they didn't have access to the assets, they stayed in jail. The judge didn't lower the bond so they could get out. Sometimes after a while, being in jail, bond is lowered. But this guy didn't spend any time in jail, even though we're talking about a lot of money. Now, so you say it's a white-collar crime. He didn't hurt anybody. But it is definitely obvious, clear and obvious, that he is being treated in a way different from the average American. That's all I'm saying. Now, the bond that Trump is posting with the court now is essentially a placeholder. What it is doing is it's meant to guarantee payment if the judgment is upheld. If that happens, then the presumptive Republican nominee, Donald Trump, will have to pay the state the whole sum, which grows with interest daily. And if Trump wins, he won't have to pay the state anything and will get back the money that he has put up now. Now, when somebody says he is not being treated special, what are you talking about? Of course he's being treated special. This doesn't happen for anybody else. You commit a crime and then you run to be governor and it's going to wipe everything away. No, it doesn't work like that. But for some reason, this is what we are seeing. Now, until the appeals court intervened to lower the required bond, Attorney General from New York, Letitia James, had been poised to start the collection. She was possibly going to seize some of Trump's marquee properties, but now her office has declined to comment. We did reach out to her office. They ain't got nothing to say. The court ruled after Donald Trump's attorneys complained that it was practically impossible to get an underwriter to sign off on a bond for $454 million plus interest. Oh, but I thought you was a billionaire. No. But what's ironic about this, Trump claiming to be a billionaire, but not having the ability to get the money, because many folks know that he inflates and has been convicted of fraud on numerous times. So, but he was able to get the money. Of course, they lowered the money, then he was able to get it. Now, of course, Trump has denied any wrongdoing. However, the facts tell otherwise, and he's been convicted. So, of course, you got murderers with fingerprints everywhere, evidence, and they still say they didn't do it. So, whatever. We'll take that for what it's worth. The state's court's appellate division has said that it would hear arguments in September. A specific date has not been set. And if the schedule holds, it will fall, in the final weeks of the presidential race. It definitely, no matter who you are, it can't be good to be sitting up in court, during an election. And I don't see how this looks good. Now, courts sometimes grant exceptions and lower the amount required for a stay, as in Trump's case. I guess sometimes it happens. Now, under New York law, filing an appeal generally does not hold off the enforcement of a judgment. But in this case, of course, there is an automatic pause in legalese, a stay, if the person or the entity obtains a bond guaranteeing payment of what's owed. And Trump's attorneys, if you remember, said that more than 30 bonding companies were unwilling to take a mix of cash and real estate as collateral for the $454 million plus bond. Underwriters insisted on only cash. They didn't want none of your janky buildings. But they wanted stocks or other liquid assets, but they didn't want the real estate. They said that most bonding companies require collateral covering 120% of the amount owed. Now, Trump recently claimed to almost, having $500 million in cash, but he wasn't trying to spend that on this. And this coupled with billions of dollars worth of real estate and other assets, but said he wanted to have some cash available for his presidential run. But let's understand this. He hasn't spent any of his personal money on his campaign runs. Back in 2016, he was saying, you can trust me. I'm going to be funding my own campaign. But he hasn't spent any of his personal money. He has had supporters do that. And who knows where else he's getting this money from. Now, in addition to the $175 million he had to put up in this New York case, Trump has also posted bond and cash worth more than $97 million to cover what he owes to writer E. Jean Carroll while he appeals verdicts in a pair of federal civil trials. Now, let me say this. That judgment initially was $5 million and some change, but he kept running his mouth, which is how you got to the $97 million with the defamation. And so it's just, I don't know. He gets his own self into trouble. He's his own worst enemy. In March, a British court ordered Trump to pay legal fees of £300,000, which is about $382,000 to a company that he unsuccessfully sued over the so-called Steele dossier. You remember that? That contained these salacious allegations about him. Trump said that those claims were false. He lost there. And I don't know. There's this other thing that Trump could generate some cash by selling the nearly 60% of stock that he owns in his newly public social media company, the Trump Media and Technology Group. But that would be a longer term play. Not right. He doesn't have access to that money right now. And who knows, you know how stocks go, could go up, could go down. But Trump's stake could be worth billions of dollars or not. But it is a provision that it's called the lockup provision, which prevents insiders like him from selling their shares for 6 months. But this could be waived. So there's a lot of things at play here. Trump moving a lot of pieces around, trying to do a lot of different things, trying to make some moves, moving and shaking, as they say. So that's interesting. We're going to continue to watch that and see, how this goes. I don't understand how he has been able to just bob and weave and bob through this, but he's done it for a long time. And this guy, very, very, this is, I'll say 50-50. It's a 50-50 chance that he gets in the White House again. 50-50 chance. Amazing that we're here. It is amazing that we're here. Of course, it's the Diamond K Show on ONFIRE-TV.com, Radio on Fire. Anywhere you get your podcast, just search the Diamond K Show. Of course, send comments to djdiamondk@gmail.com. Good comments. I'll read them on the air. And all social media, connect with me at the Diamond K Show. Advertisers, ONFIRE-TV.com/advertise. And, so it is baseball season starting. Excited about that. We just have a lot of election news to cover. Whoever, Democrat, Republican, Independent, you need to participate in this. You need to participate. It is critical. You cannot complain about what's happening if you are not participating. If you are not putting some of that sweat equity in this, right? You cannot complain if you are not voting. And I want to hear that your vote doesn't matter, because it does. Donald Trump would not have been elected in 2016 if people did not vote. He wasn't the favorite, right? People voted him in. Oh my God. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It's a terrible night. But voting is so important, especially in your local elections. We're talking about Brandon Scott, mayor of Baltimore, and his 2025 budget and it being balanced and all that. That directly affects the citizens of Baltimore. Wes Moore, who was elected, that affects the citizens of Maryland. It does. And so if you don't want to vote for Trump or Biden or whoever, vote in that local election. It is critical and it is important. You must participate in this process, because if you don't participate in the process, you ain't got nothing to say, right? You just need to sit back and shut your mouth, right? What The Rock would say, know your role and shut your mouth, right? All right, so I'll be back here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about this voting thing. I'm letting you know. I'm going to be talking about it. We're going to have some candidates on, going to some forums. We're going to go to some other forums, some debates, and all that kind of stuff. So it's all right. I'm going to be breaking things down because some folks, I talked to some people on the streets, and they'll say, you know, I don't really know that much about the candidates, or I don't know much about elections, or they're not comfortable with voting because they don't know that much about it. That's okay. I'm going to explain it, and I'm going to talk to you just like, some people want to talk over your head. I'm not going to talk over your head. I'm going to talk to you just like regular, I'm just a regular dude. I'm just a regular guy. And I'm going to talk to you in terms that you're going to understand because I want you to know what's going on. I don't want you to let these politicians, trick you into thinking that they're smarter than you. They're not smarter than you. And they may have gone to school or they didn't, but it doesn't matter. They're not smarter than you. The people are the majority. And we can't just let a small group in comparison to the country, the city, the state, intimidate you. We have to take charge of this. And so if you're independent, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, it does not matter. You need to vote. I don't care who you vote for. I'm going to tell you who I'm going to vote for, right? I'm going to tell you why I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to tell you why I think you should vote for him. But ultimately, you vote for who you vote for. And I respect that. Salute. You got any questions? As I said, djdiamondk@gmail.com. I've got new music dropping this week on Apple Music and Spotify. So check that out, Diamond K. Plenty of music already out there. My background is music. And if it wasn't for music, I would be an attorney. Let me say that. If it wasn't for music, I would be an attorney. I took another road during my college years. But music is a big part of my life. So in addition to doing the Diamond K Show and producing other shows, I still actively create music, DJ, and record and release music. So on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you get music, search Diamond K. I have a lot of releases. And anywhere you get your podcast, search The Diamond K Show. All social media at The Diamond K Show. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll be back for another edition of the program. We'll also have a special edition of Swap Radio tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And I will see you guys tomorrow.